So this is the basic use or kind of the basics of Layout Manager blocks. They allow us to add blocks side by side or one on top of another, and later on we'll show you how to use those in conjunction with other Layout Manager blocks to actually build a nice looking website that takes up, all of the real estate that you would like to use and place your content wherever you would like. That makes it more manageable and more aesthetically pleasing design. The next thing that we're going to cover now is going over the actual options for the Layout Manager block. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and just edit this Layout Manager block again by clicking the little pencil edit icon on block 1. And this opens up to our Edit Layout Manager block screen. Now what you're familiar with, what we've already changed and seen is the select layout style. And again, if I can just explain that again, the layout style allows you to choose whether the Layout Manager blocks are displayed on top of each other in rows or side by side in columns. So if that seems a little confusing, if you can try to picture a spreadsheet, you have cells that go down your screen in one column and cells that go across your screen in one row. And if that's even more confusing, you can always call up our technical support. So, moving on, we have the background options for the Layout Manager. And the background is a really nice feature because this background feature isn't for the background of your website. This is the background for this particular Layout Manager. And so what's nice about this is it sets the background image or color, and you can see here that you have a color picker option which brings up many different colors that you can just simply click on, or an easy browse where you can choose an image, and this will set the image or color behind all of the blocks within the Layout Manager. You can use repeated images, like a small little graphic that repeats all the way across or down this Layout Manager, but it is the background image for just this Layout Manager and all the blocks within it. And there are some options here for image position. You can choose whether the image starts in the top left corner of the Layout Manager block and then tiles or repeats across and down, or if it starts in the center and repeats and starts out, or only takes up a certain portion of the Layout Manager block. Maybe it doesn't take up the entire thing. We can actually uncheck these repeats so it doesn't repeat. Different things like that. So this gives you some more flexibility as to whether or not you have a repeated image, or if you have a particular image, it just takes up the background of a particular part of the Layout Manager. The next thing is the padding, and I've got a little visual here that kind of explains this, I think, pretty well. So I'm just going to come over here to our a little graphic that somebody in our support department made a long time ago. This is on our EZ-Net University website, and this kind of shows you what padding is. Padding is the space that appears between the content of a particular block and its border. So in a particular Layout Manager, if you were to specify padding in a Layout Manager, you could specify the distance between the content of the different blocks within the Layout Manager and the actual border of the Layout Manager. And getting back into Page Builder to kind of show you what that is, if we just simply come back here and click Cancel, you can see that there's a border around this Layout Manager block, block 1, and it goes around all of these blocks that are within it. And we can specify padding top, left, bottom, or right between this border of the Layout Manager and all the blocks within it. And really, this is mainly used for positioning of the blocks, or allowing some space between the layout border or the design of your website and the blocks within the Layout Manager. And this is specified in pixels, and pixels is just a measurement of space. Usually your screen on your computer or your monitor has a set width and height in pixels, and so you measure and insert the number of pixels here that you would like space-wise between the block on your computer and or sorry, the blocks in your Layout Manager and the Layout Manager border itself. And moving on, the next thing is actual borders. And again, this is the borders for the Layout Manager only. And you can specify again the size in pixels. And I've got another example here, and also the color. And I've got another example here of border types. And this just gives you an idea of some of the borders that you can select for the borders of the Layout Manager. You can have no border, which means there's no border around the Layout Manager. You can have a solid border, a ridge border, dotted, double inset, dashed, groove, and outset. Inset and outset. Inset kind of looks like it's an impressed button, and the outset looks like it's a kind of an outset button, a button that kind of sticks out a little bit, gets some kind of a 3D effect there, and so on. And these are just different options that you can have selected for your Layout Manager. And again, just to show you where that would show up on the Layout Manager, again, this border here that goes around the Layout Manager, this is something that we see within Page Builder, but this is not something that we see within the website itself. This is more of a feature for us to work with within Page Builder to see the blocks. But this border that we would specify for this Layout Manager would actually appear around these blocks. Kind of similar to how this border is for the Layout Manager currently. And we're going back into here now where we can edit the border. So again, you can edit your borders. You can have a top border, or you can select it to none, and left border, and you can change some of these. And this is, and I don't know if you've seen this, but we've built a really nice feature in here where if you change the first one, it changes all of them, and then you can go on and continue to change each of them individually. So it's a quick way of selecting the type of border for all of them. Or left and right, you can actually change just left and right. If we change this from dotted to solid, you'll notice it changed left and right solid. But let's say we want left solid and right dashed. And so you can eventually change each individual one if you want to, but for time saving, we've added the ability to change all of them at once, or just top and bottom, or left and right. Block options. Normally when you add a Layout Manager for the very first time, there is nothing within this block options. And that's because there's no blocks within the Layout Manager. Where we've added in 3 blocks here, you can see the actual numbers here. Block 1, Block 2, and Block 3. If we added more, it would continue on, 4, 5, and 100, and so on. And so this is the actual kind of layout master configuration for some of these blocks, or for these blocks within the Layout Manager. One of those things that we can specify is the width of this particular block within the Layout Manager. If we wanted this block to only take up 50%, we would type in 50% here, and the rest here we would type in 25%. And notice that when you enter in the numbers here, you have 2 options of the units. You can do percent or pixels. And you just need to be aware that if you're doing percent, 100% is the max. So you need to make sure that your numbers add up. So 50, 25, and 25 is 100. Pixels, though, you don't have to worry about adding your pixels up to 100. What you need to worry about is adding them up to the width of your page. If your page is 640 pixels wide, or is it 800 pixels wide, or 1024 pixels wide, then you would want to make sure that the width of these blocks within this Layout Manager add up to that particular size. Or if you have nested layouts, which we're going to get into later on, then you'll have a Layout Manager within a Layout Manager, and possibly even more. And you may have one Layout Manager that only takes up 100 pixels, but the blocks within it may only take up 50 or 25 or so on. And so the width that you would enter in here is really the width that you would like these blocks to take up within the Layout Manager. And it gets more important later on when you start nesting blocks and actually getting into a very complicated and good-looking design and website. The next feature is the vertical alignment, and this is the vertical alignment of the blocks within the Layout Manager. Right now they're all selected to middle, but you can select top, middle, or bottom. And this allows you to, when when, for instance, we've added in these title blocks in here, this allows us to possibly have this block 1 top, and this middle one middle, and maybe our third one bottom, and it would kind of show these blocks within the Layout Manager in kind of a diagonal type fashion. If they're all middle, they're all center aligned, they all line up together. One of the most common things that people do is set all of the blocks within a particular Layout Manager to top, or bottom, or middle, or you might have, again, varying differences here, but for alignment purposes or working with designs, most times you'll just set it to top, and they would all be top.